My name is Herbert Currier. Herbert is H-E-R-B-E-R-T. Currier is C-U-R-R-I-E-R.
What is your birthday?
10/18 of 32.
So you are young.
Yeah, I was going to be 85 in a couple months.
Only, only 85. Right. Where were you born?
Right here in Freeport, Illinois.
It's your hometown.
Yes, sir.
So you know everything here.
Yeah, I know everybody almost.
Can you just move a little bit up? Yeah, so that I can see you.
Sure. Is that far enough?
Yep. So tell me about your family when you were growing up, your parents and your siblings when you were growing up here.
Well, my great-grandfather had the first milk route in the city of Freeport.
First what?
First milk route.
Wow.
That was before they had pasteurized, homogenized milk.
Mm-hmm.
They owned a farm. It was a mile square, and so they after they moved off the farm, and so then I was back there, milk cows and work on the farm, and then what took place about that time, the school board came to my great-grandfather and asked him if he'd mind donating some land for them to build a schoolhouse, because there was getting to be a lot of kids in that area. So he said, sure, how much do you want? So they just fenced it off, and there it is, it's yours.
Wow.
And so they just donated it to them, and I went to that Currier school. And the school was named after him, after us Curriers. And the road is also named Currier Road.
Wow.
So we were mainly the old ancestors is what it boils down to.
That's an honor.
It was very, very nice.
So he donated money or land?
The land.
Land.
And then when they finished the school, they closed the school up. I was out of there. I was through high school. And then they...
What is the high school name?
Freeport Senior High School.
Mm-hmm. When did you graduate?
In 1950.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I knew where I was going because the war had just started.
Let me ask this question. Oh, what about your siblings? How many brothers and sisters?
I just had one brother, no sisters.
Okay.
And my brother was on the sheriff's department here in Freeport. And he had a massive heart attack and died when he was only 52.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I didn't have any sisters, any other brother.
Okay. So, in the school you went through, did anybody, history teacher, talk about Korea?
Well, no, not in Korea or no.
Korea.
Korea, no one talked about it then, because again, when I left when I graduated from Currier School, that was a one-room schoolhouse, and there was about 55 students in it for the one teacher. And then I went on up to high school and spent 4 years there and graduated from there in 1950. And that's when the war had just started. So we knew where we were going to go. And it was so funny because we had the doctor and some of them, they had a draft, and you receive a letter from the draft board, and it had on there, your friends and neighbors have selected you. I'm still looking for those friends and neighbors. But anyway, I figured, well, I'll wait and be drafted, spend my 2 years, and then come back home.
So when you were drafted?
Yes.
When?
When? In November 11th of 1955.
55?
55.
Ah. So you knew that Korean War broke out?
Yeah. So we knew, 55, and then the war ended in the summer of 1955.
And what were you doing until 1955?
I was working at Fairbanks Morris after high school, and I worked in the engineering department, designing motors and whatever had to be done. And so, but Fairbanks Morris, they employed about 3,500 people in those days.
Wow. That's a big one.
Yes, it was.
And you know that there was a war going on around, and did you think that you're going to be end up there?
Oh, I imagine, yeah. Because at my age, you know, just finished high school at 17 years of age, and the war had started, like I say, in the early 1950s, so you knew where you were going to go.
But you were lucky not to be conscripted before you know the end of the war.
Right, yeah.
Wow, you were lucky.
Yeah, I was very, very lucky.
And you told me that you have no knowledge about the Korea and history and culture there, right?
Well, you knew a little bit about it from history books, but then, so you read those and you knew what it was.
Korea was in your textbook?
Oh, yeah.
You learned?
Yeah, you learn it because you knew the North Koreans were communistic. And so the United States went in to protect the South Korean.
Yeah, but that was after the war. I'm talking about when you were in school.
Oh, okay, when I was in school, yeah.
No, they didn't teach anything about Korea, right?
No, not a bit.
So when did you leave for Korea?
Well, I left to go down for basic training, which was February the 11th of 1953.
53, not 55?
52.
52.
52.
Yeah.
And so then I was drafted, and then when I went, and then the train picked us up here in Freeport, and I believe there was 55 of us left here once, and go into Chicago for our physical, and get your shots and all paperwork and that. And then I went down to Fort Riley, Kansas for basic training.
Yep.
And when I finished basic training, I was very, very lucky. When I say that, because they kept me right there to be a cook. Some cooks had left, and because they had to go over to Korea, so they needed replacements. So I cooked, and I also, I don't know if you want this on, but I will say it. I pitched fast pitch softball here in Freeport, Illinois, and went down to Fort Riley, and they just started the fast pitch league. Well, we were very, very fortunate. We won our division down there, down in the training area, but up on the main post. So we went to Indianapolis, representing Fort Riley, Kansas, and so then we spent 10 days there, and then came back to Fort Riley for additional training. And then,
So when did you leave for Korea? From where?
well, I stayed right there at Fort Riley, Kansas.
Oh, you didn't go to
I
Korea.
did not have to go to Korea.
Ah.
I was very lucky, stayed right down there at Fort Riley, and I was cook. And then about halfway through, and then they deactivated the 10th Division. That was a training site. And they brought in Camp Polk, Louisiana, to train down there. And so then I was transferred up to the main post, that's where all the paperwork and the meat cutters. There was over 900 people were assigned to that Army Service Unit. And so then that's when I was promoted to mess sergeant. And I continued pitching my fast pitch softball, and we won the Fort Riley Championship again. And again went back to Indianapolis, representing Fort Riley, Kansas. So I was very, very blessed there.
Wow. So exactly when you become the private first class?
That was when I went in the service.
When?
February 11th of 1952. 52.
52.
Yeah, 1952.
So that's when you become the PFC.
Right,
So you are Korean War era veteran.
right.
Yeah. Do you know how many Korean War era veterans there? There are so many.
Well, I'll tell you, we sell our daisies, and on that daisy it had 54,000 were killed during our Korean War.
Yeah.
And there was a little over 100, I think 104,000 were injured.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do, like a week ago Friday, we went down to Dixon, and we sell daisies, whoever wants to contribute anything and towards it, and then we don't want the money. We want to use that money to give it to the nursing homes and anyone who needs money. We want to help them out. And so there's a couple of monuments around here, one in Stockton and one just started down Thompson. So we give each one of them $1,000 to help them get started, which was during our Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll say this, one time while I was cooking a mess sergeant down at Fort Riley, and here I was in Company I,
Mm-hmm.
and I got orders. The first sergeant gave me orders, I had to go down to K Company, which was just down the street. And so, okay, I had to turn in my cooked whites and that. And our company commander, Carpenter, came along and he says, "Good morning, Herb, how are you?" I said, "Fine." And I said, "I've got orders, I have to go down the street." So I took my orders out of my pocket and showed it to him. And he says, "No, I don't think so. We got a good softball, it's fast pitch. We're throwing the ball about 100 miles an hour. And it rises and drops and curves." And so he said, "We got a good softball team, I want to keep a good softball pitcher." So he come with me in the office, we went in there. He called some general or someone and that took care of it. Go back, go to work.
So when were you discharged from the military?
1955.
November?
No, February the 10th.
Ah. So what did you do then after that?
When I came home,
Yeah.
after I got out, I went back to my job that I had with Fairbanks Morris, designing motors. And in those days, the company that you worked for, they said, you can have your old job back, even if someone is working down there and they're more seniority than you still get your old job back. But I was designing motors and I stayed right there till they closed in 1963, 96. Then I went to Honeywell.
Honeywell.
Yeah.
And what did you do there?
Well, some was designing switches when the astronauts would, on the first capsule, and the astronauts went out, and we had to make sure we had the switches right, because if they failed, the astronauts did not come back to the capsule. So that's what I oversaw all that, and the ladies that worked for me, they made sure that the switches were followed correctly according to spec, and we were in charge of doing the testing. So you had the design engineers and them. We had a nice group of fellows that all worked hard together to make sure that everything was designed and worked properly.
So how did many of your colleagues who received the basic training, they went to Korea, right?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
In fact, there was 205 of us in the basic training,
Yeah.
and 201 went to Korea. So there was just the 4 of us stayed here in the States. And when you got ordered to go to Seattle, Washington,
Yep.
you know where your next destination was.
Yeah.
Sorry to say now, we should have kept right on driving North Korea out to sea.
Mm-hmm.
But that's too late now.
So you were very lucky to stay here, and was that because you were good at softball?
Well, it was cooking and mess sergeant and then pitching softball.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a combination.
Combination of those.
In fact, when we finished basic, go back a little bit, finished basic,
Yep.
and the cadre, they were looking for some softball players. Well, they really didn't want us because they knew where we were going to go. We were going to go to Korea. And so I called home, got my spikes and my glove down there, and it was all history. Then we started winning the game. Well, then they wanted me to stay right there, which I did. But it was very, very fortunate. The guy up above certainly looked after me.
Did you join the Korean War Veterans Association?
Yeah, we have. I'm the chaplain for our Korean Veterans Association right here in Freeport.
Ah, the chapter 150.
right.
Yeah. When did you join them?
Well, after I finished, I don't know exactly how old it is, but it was after we all, I'd say quite a few years after we finished the war, and that Clyde Troop became our director.
So when you joined them, they knew that you are Korean War era veteran,
Oh,
right?
yeah, because we had all of our paperwork and credentials and things, yes, sir.
And people welcome you, right?
Oh, yes,
Yeah, yeah. So you know what happened to Korea.
I certainly did.
Tell me about it. Tell to the students about the war that you know and how Korea became like today. Tell children about it, please.
Okay, I was, when I finished basic, and again, there was almost the entire company was directed to go over to Korea. And Korea, you knew what the weather was, about 40 below zero in the wintertime, and it was more mountainous and rocks. And so all the fellows went over there, and very unfortunate because in wintertime it's so cold. We have pictures here on the 38th parallel, and it shows some fellows helping other guys get out of their foxholes, and their feet are froze in the foxholes, and when it's 40 below, and the only way to get them out is cutting their feet off, or have to cut their hands off, and it isn't good, very bad. So that was the best thing the United States could have done, was go over there. And remember, we were only there 3 years. And then everything finished, they signed the peace treaty, and that was the end of that war.
They didn't sign the peace treaty. It was a ceasefire.
Oh,
yeah,
you're right,
ceasefire in 1953.
In 53.
Right. But at the time, Korea was completely destroyed. But do you know about the Korean economy and Korean political system now?
Yeah, well, we know it by reading, you know, what Korea has done to come back. Highways underground and just many things like that. And so Korea really worshipped the United States for, I'm going to call it, bailing them out.
Mm-hmm.
And we certainly did. Anything we can help our brothers, we're all brothers. Yeah, they were, and now, if anyone goes over there, they really worship you.
Yeah, you know, we don't want to forget what you did for us 70 years ago. And because of that, we are now 11th largest economy in the world. And it's most vibrant democracy in Asia. So what you did and all the Korean War veterans did was something that catalytic that the Korea becomes so powerful right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have one fella in our group, Curtis Pilgrim. I don't know if you've talked to him yet.
No.
He's a fellow down from Argo Bay,
Mm-hmm.
and he was right at the front line.
Uh-huh.
And about 2 years ago, his church, the pastor asked him if he'd mind sharing what he did over there. And I mean, there was mortar rounds came down right alongside of his foxhole. Very fortunate the mortar round didn't go off. It was a dud. And so he can really give everything firsthand. In fact, I have a copy of it. He gave me one of what he read pre-show.
Yeah, Curtis
Pilgrim.
Curtis is first name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curtis.
Yeah. He's here in the list, so he
Oh, is
will
it?
come.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're really going to enjoy him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I see.
And he's there riding in the Jeep with some other, South Korean. Well, they made a wrong turn. They drove right smack into another battalion coming from North Korea, coming right into them. So they turn around quick, get out of there.
The thing is, the problem is our world history textbook doesn't tell much about Korean War. Why is that?
I really don't know, to be honest with you. You would think it would because there was a war, and again, there was 54,000 were killed.
Mm-hmm.
So our textbook definitely should have some things that took place, how they took place. Again, the pictures in that, when you're losing 54,000 United States soldiers in only 3 years, it definitely should be well notarized. Because and then you look, then we've got other ones right in that same location. Anything we can do to help them out. Yeah, so it's bad. Wars, no one wins. And like Curtis will tell you, there's a lot of North Koreans, communists, didn't have guns, didn't have ammunition, but they were just charging right into our United States fellas. In fact, I had a good friend of mine, we grew up together, played ball together and everything, lived about 4 houses apart, and he didn't want to continue in high school, so he went to Korea, got drafted. He spent 3 weeks over there and he was killed. Those are the ones that really touch your heart.
So what do you think we have to do to tell our future generation that it's not forgotten? It should not be forgotten. We should be able to teach more. But how do you think we can do that?
I think what you're doing is publicizing it, writing about it, showing pictures about it. Again, this movie that I mentioned to you, when you see fellows that don't have feet, and these two fellows that did the narrating, everything out, those fellows were not actors. They're real life fellows like you and I. No hands, because their hands were just froze. And like they said was, your M1 rifle, you have to clean it spotless, because otherwise you get a little oil on it, they will not function. But I think too, just what we're saying, and you look around and say, boy, my buddy lost his feet. I tried to help him out. And he had no feet, no hands. I think what you're doing is, again, more literature about it. Show pictures. Pictures are the best things, I think. And then those are the memory things. Now again, when I left Freeport, Illinois, like I say, it was 35. A good friend of mine went to California for his basic training. So we just kind of went all over. And Fort Riley, there was only about 5 of us went down to Fort Riley, so they just put them wherever they could work them in.
So even though you were not in Korea at the time, but you're still proud of yourself as a Korean War veteran.
Oh, I certainly am.
And what is the Korean War to you personally in your life? What is it?
Well, I think it shows, first of all, I think the United Nations should have been the ones got together, and when North Korea, when they were coming into South Korea, our United Nations should have stepped in right there, rather than just the United States. But they didn't. So I take my hat off. The United States did what they had to do to more or less, I'm going to call it, save your fellow man. Even though your fellow man was many miles away in South Korea, you want to help him. Because what if you were in that predicament? You'd be thankful that someone come to help you.
Absolutely. That's why we are doing it.
Yeah.
And Korean government's running Korea Revisit program, so they invite them back to Korea for a week program, and Korean government pays for it, so that they can see what's been done there after the war.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't believe their eyes, because it's completely different country.
Yeah. And I take my hat off to them doing things, I'm going to call more modernistic, rather than waiting for someone to come out. They went in there and take care of themselves. With their, I'm going to call it their trains, their underground trains, I believe I've heard. And Clyde Fruth, he's their commander, and he's been back over there. And John Bloom, his boy, was a pilot, and so he took John back over there, or Ralph Bloom back over. So it was, and when you see it for yourself, that to me is really where it's more meaningful. It's all good, but that's the best thing.
Yeah. Any other episode or a message that you want to leave to this interview?
No, I guess I would say that, in fact, some might say, why did we go over there?
Why?
Why? If you don't go over there, they're going to come here.
That's a very interesting point.
And I'm thankful that the United States isn't sitting back where Iraq and that, in North Korea, where they have these bombs,
Mm-hmm.
the rockets, and supposedly the rockets could reach the United States. But I believe from what I've read and heard, because I watched all that, we have rockets that will intercept and blow them right out of the sky. And that's what we have to do. So we don't want them here, but we don't want them back over in South Korea again.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said initially, I guess we should have drove right out to sea in the beginning.
Very nice point. I mean, interesting. What do you want to say about your military career and its impact upon your personal life, private life?
Well, I think, my personal opinion, I think everyone who finishes school should have to go through basic training, and if there's more on, then you're ready. But even basic training, just to leave you see that, hey, you can't get up out of your bunk and go to the refrigerator. You're not the boss anymore.
Mm.
You know, your sergeant is the boss. And again, with me cooking and mess sergeant, they are the boss. And it's, you have to be able to take command. And if you don't, well then, again, with me cooking, and I had a rule on that when you went through the chow line, and you had the metal mess gear, and even if you just left maybe a fourth of that little cube of butter, you just volunteered for KP. And some think that's kind of severe. No, you took that. That means you're the one who should be eating it. I didn't put it on your plate.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you take, you make sure you eat.
Mm.
And then as you look around, because I have a nephew, he's a chap, he was over in Thailand just about 3 weeks ago. He's a missionary. And where you see how other countries live, and it's a shame. So however we can help them, we definitely should.
Mm.
Even to me, we have the homeless here in Freeport, homeless all over. And I've enjoyed our church. When it's our turn, I'd go down and I'd fix breakfast for the homeless. Give them 4 eggs and hash brown potatoes and bacon and that, toast. If they want more, I give them more. And that to me is what life is about, helping the other person. So just think, instead of 4 eggs, now they came back and they had 8 eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And more raw fried potatoes and more bacon and toast. So again, you're helping even though you don't know them, but you're helping your fellow man.
Very nice. Very nice.
So again, I'll go back to just a little bit. Yeah, I was fortunate I didn't have to go to Korea, but I was trained for it. If I'd had to go, I'd have been over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cooks, you know how they take care of the cooks.
Yeah.
The cooks aren't at the front line. Because if the enemy wipes the cooks out, you don't have anybody.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
But I did, I enjoyed my time there. Thankful that I went back and forth. And, but again, if I had to do over again, yeah, I'd definitely help the other guy. Because I know the other guy had been helping me.
What is your favorite menu to cook?
Well, if you want certain ones, easy one is meatloaf.
Meatloaf, yes.
Meatloaf, because you put them in big trays, and you can control the temperature and make sure that you have good meatloaf. And one thing you learn in there as a cook, when the troops are out in training and they come back, and chow is 6 o'clock, you better have it ready at 6 o'clock. And if you don't, your company commander will probably come over and visit with you.
Yeah.
So those are the things that teach you
Responsibility, accountability.
That's right.
Yeah. What is your favorite food?
Good old chicken.
Oh, how do you want to cook?
No, I really like, well, chicken, I like to roast it, but steak. I like steak because, you know, you can turn it and and again, when you're cooking, you're in charge of it.
Yep.
And if it's bad, then you're the one that made it bad. And I've always said in the military gets the best food, whether it's steak, whatever it is. Sometimes it's actually what our cooks do with it. Sometimes they burn it or don't watch what they're doing.
Yeah, my father was Air Force pilot
Oh,
in Korea, and in Korea, the air base shared with the U.S. Air Force, and they have officers club, and I still remember the best New York steak strip that I had ever was from their officers
Really?
club in Korea. You know,
yeah.
best vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, it's all good. Again, it all depends how our cooks
Yeah, I think
what they do.
the food from there was very authentic American way, you know.
Yeah.
And the material was really good, you know.
And even on Sunday, you learn, unless you want to be in KP, you better get off them. Better go to the chapel or someplace to write letters. But what I did, because I appreciate being able to help your comrade, and when they'd be down there for breakfast, come back behind. And how do you want me to fix your eggs? Over easy, sunny side up? Because I want you to relax. If you can relax, then you naturally have a good soldier.
Wow, very nice talking to you about your military career and how you think about the Korean War and its legacy. Any other message that you want to leave to this interview?
No, I just appreciate and you doing this to help other ones without them having to be there. They just have to, and so we're like an interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, once you go in there, and that's why I said, I think if everyone would have to go, even if it's just basic training, you learn. You're learning that hey, you have to take orders, and you're disciplined, and you do what you have to do. And again, as you go through all the way through basic training, whether you're crawling on the ground and bullets flying over your head a little bit, and in the gas chamber and that, but those are the things that some people think, why? Well, all we're doing is getting ready in case they need us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and it's my great pleasure and honor to meet you. And thank you for your service for the country and for the Korean nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate having the opportunity to share the things that we went through with other troops, boys or girls.